Welcome to the Yang Gang Roundtable. It's 4 p.m. on Sunday, May 24th. I'm here with Elizabeth, Jeremy, Mia, and Zach. We had a big weekend. We had Scott Santons. We had Congressman Tim Ryan on. We had American Jobs Factory on. We had two people from the 1K Project on. Wow. It's been quite a weekend, huh?
Yeah. How did the Tim talk go? I haven't had a chance to listen to it.
I haven't published them all yet. It's been so busy. I'm probably going to edit them all and post them tonight. But
Nice.
went great. The Twitch streams are up of the Scott Santons and Tim Ryan ones. Actually, the Twitch streams are all of them. Yeah, the podcast will be out. So we didn't really get a chance to do like the more low key talking about the news and our personal developments and whatnot this week. So if anyone would like to begin with anything they'd like to talk about, please do.
Well, I don't, not so much related to our normal stuff, but I just had Mike Breuer on my own channel, and I know you had him on the Yang Gang Roundtable a few weeks ago. I wasn't present in that one, but he is such a cool dude. I just want to say, Mike Breuer is the man. If you're in Kentucky and you're listening to this, please check out Mike Breuer. He's running to replace Mitch McConnell in the Senate. He's a UBI candidate, retired Marine, farmer, teacher, Yang Gang, all-around great guy.
When you reached out to him, Zach, did you find it difficult at all to set up the interview?
Well, I was like mostly dealing with an aide, and there was a little bit of confusion at first over like who would be hosting the Zoom chat. But I mean, not any real difficulties. Why do you ask? Did you have some difficulties?
I was just curious if your experience was similar to mine, where it was just like I reached out to him, and then pretty much immediately they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And a couple emails later, and it was all squared away. Like there was little to no difficulty whatsoever.
Yeah, no real difficulty. And I'll be honest with you, I've reached out to a few other candidates, and yeah, at first it was like, yeah, let's do it, and then like I've been having a difficult time setting up a time and a date and a time with them. Like I actually kind of think I was ghosted by one of them. I'm not going to say their name in case good chance they're just busy, and I'll hear back soon from them. So I don't want it to sound like I'm saying anything bad about them. But yeah, I kind of think I've been ghosted by one or two candidates. But yeah, no, Mike's team is awesome. Like I said, there was just a little bit of like technical confusion with I guess how when you set up like a Zoom, when you schedule like a Zoom meeting, you can have it imported to your Google Calendar. For some reason, they wanted to set up the actual meeting, and I was just kind of like, okay, so are you gonna record it and then send me the file, or how does that work? And then they ended up being okay with me scheduling the meeting. Like that was just a little bit weird at first, but it was just more about a technical issue, not really like trying to plan out when exactly we were going to do this. But yeah, overall, great guy. I'm definitely rooting for him, and he's definitely to the left of me on quite a number of issues, but honestly, that doesn't even matter. I mean, UBI is the most important thing that we could do for this country, and probably the second most important thing is just getting rid of Mitch McConnell. So it's actually quite important that his campaign gets some support. He may not be the hand-picked person by Chuck Schumer. Amy McGrath is getting a ton of press, but I think Mike Breuer is the guy for the Yang Gang and for the U.S. as a whole. I mean, he's a really good guy. Like I said, supports UBI and a number of other Yang initiatives, and he's really the candidate that we should be trying to help out a bit, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Mike is he's a solid, authentic, genuine human being. I think having a person like him who can really be a role model for people to look up to is severely lacking in our political system, and so I think that's also in addition an important reason to elect him into office.
Yeah, totally. He's got some real leadership qualities, and we're lacking that.
Heidi's race ended this last week, didn't it? She came in second.
Yes.
Yeah. Heidi Briona's race, she came in second. Yeah, her opponent who won was, I believe, a millionaire or had millions in funding at least. So it's hard to go up against the establishment, but she made a stand.
Yeah, she got what, like 5%?
I believe it was
That's
6.
insanely good.
Yeah, a significant amount. It's not something that's trivial at all. So It's still a victory. Congratulations.
Full advantage of the organizational skills of the Yang Gang or anything like that.
Most of these candidates, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they jumped in the race pretty late,
Yes.
So I'm actually really surprised that we have so many people across the country running on UBI and other Yang initiatives like Democracy Dollars and whatnot. I really thought we'd have to wait until 2022, the midterms, until we start seeing people running. So it's just, the fact that this grassroots organizing has popped up so fast is just very impressive. And we're moving the ball forward with just talking about UBI. So win or lose, we're still winning.
Yeah, I agree. It's what's most important to take away, I think, from Heidi's run is that she was able to gain thousands of votes with campaigning for roughly 2 months. Right? I think that in and of itself is just a major achievement, and I hope that that gives us a little bit of forecasting of what it's going to be like when we have other UBI candidates running elsewhere in the country.
And she did that during a pandemic while deprived of volunteers, of the ability to door knock, of the ability to traditionally fundraise. So I actually think that's hugely impressive.
Yeah, I agree. She deserves to pat herself on the back. She did a tremendous job. So what else is new?
Well, since I last talked to you guys, we actually moved into a place. It's really nice. The whole move was complicated by the fact that he had to go back to work, which the park's open at the end of this month, and yeah, it's already a concern. But just trying to explain to people that there wasn't a choice, that it didn't, like, just them saying you can choose to stay home doesn't mean there is actually a choice for everybody.
No, there isn't. And if anybody's giving you hell about that, I'm really sorry to hear that.
It's local people. They're
it's
more
not
conservative.
Fair that you're in that position at all.
Well, I'm fortunate in that my workplace is not opening up yet. They seem to be taking a back seat and waiting to see how this pans out for there's another after school place in the area that is already opening their doors. So I think we're going to see how that goes with them. And so they're still letting us sit on unemployment, which is way better for all of us right now. I'm just worried about the state.
Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I live in Wisconsin, which almost never makes national headlines, and never for good reasons. We're opening up because our Supreme Court overturned Evers' safer at home order. He asked everybody to stay safer at home if they could anyway, but like we discussed, this is just opening up is going to force a bunch of people back to work, including him, because it's really the employers making the choice, not the employees. And
at the end of the day, you got to eat.
Yeah, and just the people who want it open was, I get it from the employee and the producer side, but the customers who wanted to open back up, the consumers that wanted to open back up, they're not the people that are following the guidelines. The people who were following the guidelines were largely fine with things being shut down. The people who are out right now, they're outright antagonistic to the concept of staying away from people and wearing face masks.
Can you tell us some of the things you've seen? Some examples of that?
Just lots of pointing and scoffing and not wearing them at all, or wearing them as like a chin strap. And it's more common for me to see someone not wearing a mask than wearing a mask out. And we're trying not to go out, but he's at work. And I know at his work, they're going to require the entire staff to wear masks, which is, he works in a water park.
Oh,
So
that's
I'm trying to picture how a lifeguard is going to lifeguard in a face mask.
that also sounds like a really hard environment to enforce social distancing on too.
Oh, it's going to be a nightmare, especially because they're basing their, because there's occupancy guidelines for this still, but they're basing those guidelines on total occupancy. And if you know how occupancy is calculated for those, it's like jam packed. They're never at occupancy. It's 2-person per step per every step of the tower up, plus all of the ground space. It's so there's no real bar for them barring people. It's entirely down to distance between people. And yeah, you're going to have a bunch of high schoolers really enforcing that. A bunch of high schoolers and a bunch of unfortunate international students who are still stuck here.
I'm glad we can get that recorded. I'm glad that's. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, at least at his water park, their international students got treated much better than the rest of the ones in. As much as I disagree with the concept of corporate housing, they were able to get theirs finished built and have them moved in already, and so they waived rent. But the rest of them are there's like a few apartments in town that rent to them, and they're all just kind of stuck there without, like, a lot of them have expired cards now because they couldn't fly back to their country. Just there's people locally trying to organize really ragtag relief efforts to try to help them, but it's a nightmare. The situation at the state level is going to make it worse, which is awful.
Please go on. I did not mean to cut you off if you had more to say.
Oh, you're fine. I was stopping there.
Well, I was going to say this reminds me that when the 1K project was on, they gave me and Zach each a link to nominate someone to receive the $1,000 a month. So I'm going to nominate you and your family. Zach's going to not Zach, Jeremy. They gave Jeremy a link. Sorry, Zach. I see you flashing for some reason, and you have some background noise, so you're like popping into my subconscious. You want to mute your mic, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. So I meant to say Jeremy is going to nominate Jacqueline. So I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe they can help you out. We're all doing what we can. But yeah. So as long as that's okay with you, we're going to nominate you for the 1K project.
That is very sweet of you. I would be fine with that. I'm honestly right now I'm more worried about his health.
Yeah, sure. Well, no, I mean, look, there's no more. It's all connected. This will,
I know,
for its health.
I know.
So, we'll talk to you. I'll talk to you after that, and I'll figure out what to put in the application, and you tell me whatever we need to put on there. But welcome, Ariel. I see you've just arrived.
Yeah, thanks. This is pretty cool because like last night we had a family gathering, and I was like I wanted to re-listen to part of my kind of like guest appearance I had on the New Progressive Voice with Josh, and then they were all like, "What's that?" So I sent it in my family text, and like they never knew I could like be that articulate and intelligent. Like, well, they knew I had something, but like they heard it and it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, Ariel, I just listened to that last night. That was good. Definitely entertaining conversation, and it touched on some good points.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it just goes to show that like we're not as different and as opposed to each other as we like to think we are. I think that the main thing that everyone can agree on is that it's just not fun to struggle for no other reason than political dysfunction. I mean, once we get rid of our mental bandwidth isn't, like so highly concentrated on basic necessities, we can start having these conversations better, and we can stop being so angry at each other. And I just think that's what it all boiled down to.
It was good to see you at the Humanity Hanks too, this past week, Ariel.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I always used to be so bored with having so much free times on my hands because like my basic needs are covered. But then when I got laid off, I kind of fell into this like frustration that there's nothing for me to do. But this pandemic has kind of gave me a lot to do. So there's that. I mean, every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah, you were there the Yang Day and then like the day before that, right? For the Hangso?
Yeah, I was one of the only Romes that did not get a chance to speak to Andrew Yang at that time and see his wife because of some technical issues. So through no fault of anybody's own, I did not get to see Andrew Yang. Now, so that goes to show you, it's not because I didn't try hard enough or I wasn't good enough. There was just a glitch in the system. And like, that's the same way we should look at poverty. It's not that people deserve it. It's just that some people were unlucky enough, unfortunately, in their lives to get caught in some glitch in the system. And then we point at that people that get caught in glitches and we say, hey, it's your fault. It's kind of like that movie with called Wreck-It Ralph, when that girl was like a glitch, but like that's because like it was done on purpose. But it's like, like we have to look at these things as like, okay, maybe these pipes or this bureaucracy failed this person and it's not, a moral thing.
Well, on the analogy you're talking about there with her, she had the glitch put upon her. It's not like she was like
she
born with
it.
So you could like compare the person putting it on it to the system itself, which is built in a way that does not promote actual humanity and instead promotes productivity and efficiency
and backstabbing and like coups against certain people and knives coming out and backroom deals, because like King Candy went into the mainframe and turned her into the glitch. And that's the same thing that happens with people who are like blackballed from the job market, like word spreads or cancel culture. So, I mean, same thing.
Yeah, so what's your guys' part of the world been like for this weekend? And have you guys seen large gatherings taking place, that kind of thing? Because it's been crazy here in Missouri and also in Daytona.
I don't know.
Things are starting to open up here. I mean, I haven't really been out too much, but one of the things I do for income is I help people move items. Like I have a pickup truck and a trailer, so like I'll pick up a couch from a store for somebody and whatnot. And the last few runs I've done to department stores, they've been pretty packed with people. So, I mean, for the most part, people are wearing masks and taking precautions, but they're still out and about. The stores are opening up. Restaurants are still closed for the most part on the inside, but things are slowly starting to open.
Right.
Yeah, so I posted an image and a short video. So that's what the Lake of the Ozarks looks like right now. So we have tens of thousands of people that have gone on vacation down to the lake, and everything is open. I mean, we're talking bars, restaurants, live music, no social distancing whatsoever, no cautionary measures taken like whatsoever. So we're going to have a massive second wave coming here in Missouri.
Oh, Jesus, that image right there is what I'm worried about when the parks fully reopen
That's
here.
so terrible, but at the same time, at least we're privileged enough to get this firsthand information, all across the country to each other. So this is good.
I mean,
that's good. We heard it first. Now I know.
Right.
Right. So yeah,
frankly, that was a weird strength of being on Twitter at the beginning of this. Was we got more of a heads up that this was coming than it seems like a lot of the people around me at least got.
Look,
we still got it. We still have that.
You guys, I say, and this may sound a little cruel, if they want to go ahead and be our guinea pigs, be our guests, Like, if they all end up getting it and some of them get severely sick.
That does sound a little
No,
yeah.
like, there's people
that
work at
I
those
can't
locations.
I can't endorse such a callous stance. I understand.
Further, there's also every
saying.
single one of them coming home to their family who may or may not agree with their particular behaviors.
Oh,
You're not going to like exercise your son out of your family if he thinks that the economy should open up. I hope, like especially if
Right.
he's underage.
Right.
So
Right. So
Yeah,
these the people that descend on Lake of the Ozarks, I would say probably in the ballpark of around 75% of these people are from the St. Louis metro area. So that's where they're going to be returning home to.
Oh, okay.
Oh God,
Oh,
right. Like here's Chicago, which is where these parks pull from. They're not opening their bars, but we are. So, yeah, that picture is what I'm worried about coming up.
Right, and that's just one location, right? This is just one picture from one place, and there are thousands of places like that down there that saw similar gatherings.
two hairdressers who defied the orders infected 86 and 56 or something along those lines. I might have the numbers wrong, I'm going to admit. Just from defying the orders and staying open during that and interacting individually. Think of that across that entire crowd.
Yeah, that's crazy. But what are you going to do?
Pray.
Well, there's what we
There's
should
not-
do
there's
and
not
what we're
many
going to do.
options.
All right. Because if you send people down to like arrest them, then like those people who arrest them have to be touching them and getting physical with them. So I mean it's like there's no clear option. So like what can happen unless they like arrest them with like PPE or some shit like like it's really
We need a
crazy.
UBI and a vet. Just that would have got us through this.
Yeah, there you
Like
go.
Amazon's making fucking bank right now. A vet on that would have paid for this already. I just
like 10 times over. Like
yeah. Like there's something going around that the millionaires would just have to be a little less rich to get us through this. Nope, they don't even need to do that. They would break even. We just want money to give right back to them.
Right, exactly. It's so like I don't know. It's just like we have this craziness in our political system that it's like we're not going to do like what's so obvious because of pure ideological reasons. Like we're just going to throw practicality away and be ideologues, even though that is the worst time to be like that. It's right now.
It's weird how much of the tech center is actually like okay with the idea too. I wish they had more influence and it weren't like being divided amongst other types of money, because we would have a UBI if like Jack were in charge and the only guy lobbying,
right.
or Bill Gates even.
If I were like some part of the tech sector, I would and I was providing the government with any kind of tech, I would be kind of like, I'm not going to like help you with this unless you do this, but I mean I wouldn't want to hurt anybody. Like it's complicated. It's like, but I would be withholding my services from a guy who had a lot of power and influence if they did not go towards a UBI. I don't know.
That's the problem with the lobbying thing in general, though, because they are. It's not just the tech center, and then there's the tech center that is very much corporatist too. They're Facebook isn't. I don't know. Actually, Facebook's fine. Zuckerberg's for basic income as far as that goes. I know there's different people. I got myself confused. Sorry, guys.
Mark's for it. Jack's for it. It's good visibility on the social media side.
Bezos, Amazon's not for it.
Right.
Which is asinine. But of course, because he'd be paying for it right now.
Well, I mean, the best we can do is just not agree with each other in our echo chambers, but kind of like take this, this idea to them and get into the weeds of why they're against it. And they're going to have to kind of like defend, like in the times of slavery, like the people who were against slavery, who could have like talked about it amongst each other however much they wanted, but eventually they had to take the fight to the actual slave owners. So I mean, it's just a matter of time that we have to confront the slave owners. I mean, like, I don't see any other way.
Well, I mean, we could like invite them onto the podcast, but they probably like wouldn't give us the time of day. A lot of them, the people who actually have the money and power, aren't obligated to at this point. So getting them obligated is our next step. Any suggestions for that?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. We're pushing forward legislation.
We
it's
get
legislation that will bring them into that.
UBI.
It's legislation that will be confronting those powers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we we could just try to get like opponents of UBI on the show. I don't know how you feel about that.
I would like to see us do that.
Tim Pool. He seems like a good guy.
Yeah, I
good guy. He played the Yang
I like
game.
Tim Pool overall, but yeah, he's totally wrong on the whole UBI
And he's
issue.
been told.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he went on.
People have had that conversation with him. He's just not open to the information, from what I can tell, which is
well, that's just weird. Like he says, like,
frustrating.
like if I have like $5 and I go into the store and there's no milk, that $5 isn't going to mean anything. But then, like, I showed him pictures of like farmers dumping all the food and the milk that they had. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah, no, people are able to take that money and go directly to those farmers. You're seeing that happen locally, and I love it. A lot of the family farms are doing that.
Yeah,
just
I know,
letting people buy direct.
But he's Tim Pool's looking at this from like a scarcity point of view. He's saying that like people will just like have all the money in the world.
I think he was probably just trying to be quippy.
Yeah, so I mean, when people just say things that are just like so wrong, I mean, like, you know, you can just like say, hey, like, here's the evidence that shows the complete opposite right in front of your face. What are you gonna do? Ignore it? And I guess they will. Like,
yeah, they definitely will. And then trying to keep it humanity first is another hard point. We want people who are willing to engage in the topic from a good faith position. We don't want people who are going to immediately troll us afterwards. It's not going to be helpful to the conversation.
Like,
it's not going to push people forward. People will hard off into camps just like they do in our binary system. We need people truly willing to debate, or it's not worth actually getting into it with them.
That's like, I don't know, that kind of like defines the United States. People just want to like, you know, like quip and quarrel and kind of like shout and scream, and then you go to places like Europe and Australia and stuff, and they can kind of calm down a bit, because like, I don't know how here in the US, like these buzzwords that like make everybody jump and down and go like, the Constitution, our founding fathers, my freedoms, and it's like, god damn it, just like,
I mean, we definitely have people who are far too reactionary like that, but this group wouldn't exist if Americans weren't capable of slowing down, calming down, and have a by-the-points conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just need to find them and get them here and debate them.
Yeah. Like, more people like us exist in this country, and we can find them, and they don't all already agree with us.
But by the time we're done with them, they will.
Yeah, we do have a Republican roundtable scheduled for next Saturday.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Please, everyone, come if you can. The whole point is a brainstorming session / call to action for Republican UBI Congress members to appear, for people to run for Congress on the Republican side of the aisle on a UBI platform, or for Republicans who are in Congress to endorse UBI if they're reachable. I don't know. I guess that might be a whole different strategy, really. But we're going to do a show on brainstorming how we can inspire, encourage, find, and create people to run for Congress on a UBI platform as Republicans. So that is the 30th of May, 3 to 5 Eastern. And Mike Bro here, no, not Mike, sorry, Dan Larson will be there.
I.e., we need more Dan Larson.
Send out a reminder for that one, because that's not the day I'm usually on, but I would love to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, sure, of course, yes.
I don't, like, not because I'm in a position to run for Congress, but I would like to infiltrate my local Republican Party, because I think a lot of them are easier for me to persuade to this concept than I have luck on the left.
Yeah, we want you to definitely be at that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Do you guys think it would be worthwhile looking into to joining our local Republican groups instead of Democratic ones?
If
maybe, I mean, yeah, if we're brave enough to look,
it's not a bad idea.
It does not hurt to look into it, especially for those for whom we could make a more traditional or plausible case, like Zach. Maybe you too, Jeremy, you too, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I personally would have a hard time going in and being like, hello, a bit of an ideological socialist, but let's see what you got, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more about that's the people I usually have more comfortable conversations about these things with. Just I don't know why I'm more easily
lean into that. Lean into that. And I do know why. It's because they're not indoctrinated against you and against having that conversation. It doesn't sound. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think like we've been so stuck in these culture wars, like a fly stuck in amber, and we're kind of like that. But like, let's get off the culture wars for a bit and just talk about economic practicality. And so many Republicans are open to economic practicality. It's just the cultural stuff sometimes that creates so much friction. So it's like, okay, so let's work a way to have that conversation.
Yeah, I see simultaneously two big categorical arguments: economic practicality, and there's also a moral case for it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of where you're at, Shael, where I'd be like, I'd probably feel a little disingenuous being there, like I was like trying to infiltrate or spy or something, and I would be concerned that I might give somebody some accidental side eye because I couldn't contain my disdain for an idea that I particularly didn't like.
I think a better way to go.
I've found as long as that's like the reasonable to the right of me, you can give them the side eye, and they'll give you side eye back for the things they disagree with you on, and it's
right. So
fine.
Yeah, instead of going under any kind of a false premise, just go like, "Hi, I've traditionally been on the other side of the aisle, but I'm an open-minded person. I'm trying to be more open-minded, and I'm trying to bridge communication gaps between, civically engaged persons. So I'm here in good faith, and I'm here to hear you out, and I hope you're going to give me good faith too. And if they don't, you just got to be strong enough to shrug it off and be like, all right, well, you didn't, but maybe someday you will, and maybe some other people will. Just don't be discouraged."
Like I was a full-on like hardcore conservative Israel-loving Zionist who actually took a trip to Israel, like under that premise, with a whole bunch of other Republicans and like very prominent Republican conservatives actually. And then when I switched to the UBI side, like I kept on getting like angry Facebook emoji reactions from one of my friends. like and I just want to like talk to him, and he's like, welfare and this and that, and I'm like, but you, like, where would you be without a floor? So no, it like surprised them. It's like, how can you betray us like this? And I'm like, no, it's not like that, you guys. Just calm down.
I'll be honest, that's my favorite answer to give when they come at it like welfare. Like, no, I'd like it. I genuinely would like it to replace that system and unemployment. And we could have a conversation about the minimum wage. I'm far to the right of them that I can be like, no, it's further right than you think it is, sir.
Right. And one of the excuses they use is like, no able-bodied person. He likes to use the word able-bodied. Well, if you have the tools to like fix TVs, but there are no TVs that are broken, it's not going to matter that you have those tools. You may be like the strongest, smartest person out there, but if you're in the middle of like nowhere, Kansas, where all the jobs are already taken and there's nothing for you to do, who cares how able-bodied you are? There's nothing.
And that's if you're able-bodied. They like to discount people who aren't able-bodied, and they don't even treat disabled mind as a disability. Is infuriating.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think it's worth a shot, and they always love to paint themselves as like, we're the rational ones and you guys are like overly emotional, so that's why we can't talk to you, because you can't but it's like, you know what, like maybe that's the opposite.
Let's empathize. I hear you, my man, but let's think.
I can be overly
emotional. Actually connect with people, we can't caricature them. We can't go. We can't start this conversation by going, "Hello, you're the ones who are like this," right? You think you're so rational. We have to engage them as individuals and acknowledge that the reason they are at their Republican events is because, well, hopefully they believe they are doing the best thing they can for society.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
And we're all people, and we can all be all of those things at times. There are times I'm over emotional and can't think straight. There are times when I'm looking at other people like, how are you taking this seriously? This is a joke. We're different things at different times. We're not one set thing at any given time. So I think that's one of the big problems with stereotyping is it pretends that we're always the same person in every situation, and we're really not.
Yeah. I think if we can go,
That is very well
and
said.
if we can go, and if we can have the discipline to not act out of anger, if anything, if we're ever provoked when we're there, because we're in such scary times, everyone's so tense, and if you go show up as like a non-Republican to a Republican event, there's a good chance someone might try to provoke you, not into like physical confrontation, but someone will just try to other you to make you want to leave because they don't want you there.
If you heard Fred the Felon talk about first talking to
Sure.
Yang, that's what he was trying to do. That would be a good example of
Right.
that. He said
So you have to take a page.
15 minutes railing at him.
Right. That's what most people never ever get through. So you got to take a page from the boss. You have to work up to having the emotional endurance to hear people caricature you the way Ariel was caricaturing them. And you have to
without
make sure
returning fire.
Right. You have to let them run out of ammunition, and then when they'll be like, "Okay, I'm tired. I've got to change strategies." Then you have a shot for them to like reconsider you as a real human being.
Like,
you are.
Like you walk
So
into
that's the strategy.
You walk into a Republican event and they're like, "Intruder alert! Intruder alert!"
But just as long as you don't return fire,
right,
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. But look, like Fred is the most diehard fan of Andrew Yang right now, and if you can get through all their ammunition and then like meet them on where they're at, like when they put up the article that like, "Are you willing to die for Andrew Yang?" and then Fred the Felon just retweets it and says yes.
It's like an episode of Dragon Ball where after someone takes a pounding, they're like, "Oh, you took my pounding. I respect you now."
Yeah, I know.
It's not really like that. Maybe it's a little bit like that. I don't know.
Right. It's just no. Like I think there's a contingent of like Republican libertarians that like toughness in people and they respect it. So I think that's what he saw in Yang. He said, "I just like put the screws to him," and I'm like,
everyone respects strength.
Shit.
Yeah. Everyone likes to see strength in people.
Right. So he saw that Yang was willing to take all of his lumps and then just meet him at a level, and he just couldn't believe it because he thought like, "Oh, here comes this liberal Dem. I'm gonna like own this guy," and then it just threw him for a loop. It's just
Yang's strength is really pretty subtle. It's like a modern take on that kind of stand. It's not standoffish. It's not angry. It's just this calm wave of "I will still be here when you're done."
Right.
That is well said.
Yeah. It's kind of like that kid that like throws a tantrum and they're like, "Okay, let it out," and then once he's done like waving his hands and screaming, it's like, "Okay, you're good. Okay, let's talk."
Yeah, he's a quality dad, and it shows in how he treats everybody else.
It's all about how you imagine the person who's talking to you, who you're talking to. It's like you have to you have to empathize and think of where the motivation to say these terrible things to you comes from. You have to remember they are in terrible fear or pain or upsetness. Their life is fallen apart because society is squeezing everyone, and they believe wrongly that it is you who is to blame. So you just have to let them tell you they think it's your fault.
Like be the adult,
and then once they get that out of their system, and then you can engage them past that.
Right. It's like being the adult in the room. I guess you can say like the extremist SJWs and the like extremist MAGA crowd are like the two little kids that are like, and
that's right, and they all want to draw us all into their their big charade, this big conflict. It's like West Side Story, where it's like dancing at each other. Right. We're gonna have a knife fight. This is not the government. We're not doing.
And almost all of us came from that, like very convinced that was the way that it should be too. Like, people came from the Bernie side who were just as on board with the whole we need to just eat the rich. The extremist sides are there, over to the Yang side, and we're like chill again, just as much as from the Republican side. And we all have that within us. So to mock people for it too is also a problem.
Right.
We have to recognize that we're as weak as they are. It's just about finding the right idea at the right time.
And that is the strength of humility.
I don't think walking in considering yourself the adult in the room is going to be a good way to approach that situation.
That's right. You have to be ready for another adult in the room because that's actually what you're hoping for.
Right. It's like somebody comes in there with these two kids and they're like, all right, break it up, you know, break like
You're
that
going
too.
in there hoping there's a sensible person in there like you, and you can
Yeah.
really like bridge some
Yeah.
communication gaps and get some real valuable work done in
Yeah.
being like an architect of human society.
Oh, that.
And
Yeah.
that's what you're going for. So
That's
if you have to go into, if you have to go into a mode where you're letting people rail at you until they're done, then you
yeah.
have to. But that's not the first order of business.
Well, that's interesting you say that because Yang went on Tucker Carlson and they hit it off like really well, but at the same time, I don't know if you saw this. There was this Dutch guy. There was a recording. He went on Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson just went lost his shit. He got so angry. But even a guy like Tucker Carlson, who likes to invite some liberals on his show just to like make fun of them and say like, "Oh, you're a child." Like then he actually ended up cursing and things. So everybody has that within them to like get like Mia said, get that kind of like riled up
To lose
emotion.
your composure. Yeah, just don't
Yeah.
lose your composure.
Right. Tucker did it, that one with that Dutch guy. He really he started cursing and calling him an idiot. And wow.
Just practice not losing your composure. It's a skill. You can get better at it. Everyone can.
True.
Yeah, gotta remember if you go to these meetings, you're representing Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of like when you're in business and you have a customer facing position and the customer's arguing with you. There's that saying that the customer is always right, even when they're wrong. It's kind of the same thing. You don't want to poison the well, so to say. Like, there's a way you can try to win people over to your side without getting angry and mean and even overly defensive, where you're like cursing back at people. If it's getting to that point, it's probably your best bet is probably just to leave. You don't want to let the Bernie Bros do all the nasty stuff. But the Yang
And
Gang,
even that, Zach, I gotta catch you. I think I was agreeing with you, but it's a little hypocritical to even go and caricature in the middle of this diatribe the Bernie Bros. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that. Just I feel like Bernie
people.
Bro was initially and held to and continued to be the term for the Bernie supporters that were the sort of person we're talking about.
I think it's a trap.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders.
To even have a conversation where we go like, oh, these people are the problem, and unless it's people with real power, it's always a trap to even have that conversation because our energy has to go elsewhere.
I don't think so. I think it's a conversation Yang Gang really needs to have because we're a similar movement trying to not turn into what that movement turned into in 4 years. I want us to hit 2020 and not be the Bernie Bros of 20. I want to hit 2024 and not be the Bernie Bros of 2020.
Okay, yeah, I see. No, that's not the conversation I'm talking about. I'm saying yes, we have to.
Right,
we have to keep our own composure. I'm saying we shouldn't caricature other people.
Right. And I wasn't trying to do that. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to side that in the whole.
Put all Bernie supporters in one group. You know what I mean? But everyone knows the term Bernie Bro, and it came to mean a certain thing. I'm just saying that the Yang Gang shouldn't ever be that. We shouldn't be agitators. So
that is a thing we should purposely avoid being.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Just not the best.
Let's just not be like abrasive and put like say that like these people want things to be bad and society to go to ruin. When you put that label on, it's like you never get anywhere. And
it's not even that. Like, so much of Yang's approach is listening to what people are saying to him and reflecting back at them the ideas of his he thinks will help them. Right. It can't be an approach of thinking you're educating people or that you have something you have to give to them until you've heard what they need.
Yes. Talk to people, not at people. I think that is the takeaway that we need to understand. Yeah. We see a lot of talking at and not to, and a lot of times the schooling system is talking at a lot of students and not to them.
And listen too. Listen.
The same thing happens in government a lot as well. Like a politician will be asked a question and you can tell they weren't even really listening to the answer. They heard a keyword and they immediately snap to a talking point. And that's something we have to avoid as well. Like we are conditioned with certain ideas and we will enter these with our specific biases and the things we've been told to say in retort automatically. We want to make sure we're actually listening to them before we respond.
Like those coding memes, if this, then answer this. It's like, takes away all of the free critical thinking out of the equation.
You're saying it's like a flow chart, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
If this, respond to this. Like I saw, and that goes to the whole NPC meme. It's like, if this print, like you can't be a programmed person. You have to have like your own agency,
That's part of being genuine, which was like we've been talking a lot this particular episode about just how great Yang's strategies were for dealing with people, and that was part of how he was genuine. Was he would listen for specific details in what you said, and he would address your question using your examples, not his own.
Yeah, that's why like all these journalists tried these gotcha questions on Yang, and they would always fall flat, always. And then when they saw that didn't work on him, then they just moved to like full blown just ignoring, literally.
More than that, it's why nearly every non-journalist he talked to seemed to come around and be convinced of his points. He yanged a lot of people just by listening to their story and presenting his solutions in a way that actually addressed what they said.
Right, think about it logically. Who is Yang the biggest threat to? All of these this culture of not being genuine and talking points and, sensationalism, he is a legitimate threat to that ecosystem. So I'm not surprised that they're trying to keep him out or under wraps.
Well, let's be like him so we can magnify that threat. We can do it. It's not difficult to do those things that we're talking about, to listen to people, to give them a chance to talk and respond in a way that is as helpful to them as you can be. Because we have truth and reality on our side. This policy helps everyone. It's not hard. We just have to show them the truth.
Yep. And that's why like Yang's like biggest boon to his ideas was actually dropping out of the race. Which is hilarious in a way.
I mean, I think the biggest boom to his ideas might have actually been this whole coronavirus thing happening, because it really drove it home to a lot of people to the right of me that disagreed with the concept that we actually fucking need it.
Yep. It's a shame it had to come like this, but it came nonetheless. It's like nothing, at the end of the day, you guys, like nothing stands in the way of like genuine progress, because people are eventually going to see through BS. It just happens. I mean, there's a reason why we don't have, Hitler and slavery and all that stuff anymore, because at the end of the day, people are like, you know what? Like, this stuff is making me unhappy, and I'm starting to realize it.
It takes a lot of people, though, to keep reinforcing those ideas and pushing it forward, because, yes, we did. It's only recently we did. There were hundreds of thousands of years, not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of years, where we were enslaving our own people long before America was ever around doing it. We have to be the ones pushing those ideas forward. We have to explain why it's so important that we change things, because we know that when we look back, it's going to be duh. But for some people, looking back is like what they have to look forward to. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah. This sense of nostalgia. Like, you remember when this? You remember when that? Oh, I remember. It's like, we got to get away from that. And the wonderful thing is like there's a new type of civil disobedience that's like not violent. I saw that they said they had a protest in Turkey where people were just like standing there, and when like the cops came around, they would just like ask the cops like questions, like these new forms of protests that are not about like shouting, screaming, and yelling, but they're like being creative with power in a way that like you confront them in a way that's not too confrontational, I guess. That's very creative and interesting.
Again,
You
it's
know?
all about maintaining your composure. If you can maintain your composure and not be intimidated and not act out of fear, then that can work.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
historically, nonviolent protests have been a pretty effective way to move policy forward. It's not exactly a new concept, but it's interesting to see the different ways it has evolved over time.
Yeah, and when you use violence, you also give something for the government to
yeah.
justify their violent actions. You know,
Yeah.
like whether you're talking about the Hong Kong protesters, you know, the Chinese government in Beijing, they're saying that, hey, these people are violent. You know, they're throwing rocks and stuff at us. Therefore, we
Mhm.
need to beat them up. And
Yeah. It was funny because it reminded me when we had the Yang went down to Long Beach to do the Telemundo thing. I remember like we were with each other and there was a security guard there and we didn't have money for like going in, but who cares about that? Like we just told the security guard about Andrew Yang and his idea, and the security guard was like, hey, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. And we gave the security guard a Yang, what is it thing, card. And then he yanked his security guard friend. So then it's like, just imagine if we can do that with police. Like, you're a policeman. Would you not want $1,000 to just have that conversation?
oh, totally. I mean, the implications for the police would be huge, really. I mean, all the violent criminals that they're trying to keep at bay. I mean, if they were getting a universal basic income, there would be a lot less crime, which would mean life would be a lot less dangerous for the police. So they're really like in a way, a natural proponent or ally here in this fight for universal basic income. We just have to speak to them.
Yeah, we have to speak like directly to these people instead of like through some kind of medium. Sometimes I think that's like the biggest part, because like on TV it just opens so much room for like stereotypes of groups and people and ideas, but then face to face and like stuff like this medium, it just eliminates so many misunderstandings, you know?
I would like to make a recommendation for anybody who's looking for ways to like practice not being confrontational or not being maintaining your composure, as Shael was saying. There's this series that I watch on YouTube called Street Epistemology, and technically it's an atheist engaging with people who are of faith and just trying to get them to see contradictions in their own beliefs and such. And while it's very geared towards people who aren't of faith, the techniques in there for talking to people without upsetting them while talking about sensitive subjects and stuff, I found to be incredibly helpful. And you could probably get something from it even if you don't agree with the point of the episodes.
Yeah, I will second that. That is an excellent YouTube channel and is very informative of how to communicate with people.
Thank you. It looks like a good find. We'll have to check that out.
What is it called again? I kind of
Yeah, just for the audio
cut out
only
a sec
listeners,
while
how can we tell people they can find this? What's a keyword they could search?
Street Epistemology, and it's Anthony Magnabosco.
Oh, that reminds me. There was a black guy in like the South who made friends with like KKK people and convinced them to like burn their clothes. Can you imagine that? Yeah, Jeremy, you could probably post a link, something like that. The KKK people who are like, they were like, we hate blacks, except this guy, like he's our friend.
Right. Yeah. The dude's name was Daryl Davis. He made a documentary about it. Trying to track it down.
If we can do the same thing with like haters of UBI, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we can. It's like, I hate poor people except this guy.
Lol.
yeah, that guy. I'm pretty sure he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Really Good dude. I definitely recommend checking him out.
I think that's what the math movement did to a lot of Republicans. I don't know.
I think maybe it did to some of the more open-minded younger ones, a lot of the college-age ones, it seems.
Yeah, but there's a way to do it with the older ones. We just gotta refine our strategy. That's all it really takes, because like when all these other groups are just out there in their echo chambers and just screaming at the opposition and just attacking them, we just come in and we just say like, hey, we can just make friends with anyone, and that's how you build that. That's how you get shit done. Right?
There's a lot of truth to that.
Well, when there's like two opposing parties, every time you walk in there, it's going to be like there's a bomb that's about to be set off, and both parties are scrambling to like throw the bomb into each other's hands like a cartoon. And we're going to be the people who come in there with like the SWAT gear on, ready to defuse the bomb and just get it out of there and save everyone.
Yang Gang to the rescue.
If you think about it like a football game, you're going to see it like a football game. You're going to act like you're in a football game. Even if you're trying to negotiate between teams, it's still an arduous process. But if you see it like a puzzle, a task to be solved by a collective group that doesn't know they're working together, it seems easier. Just
Right.
use the mental construct that gives you the best results.
Right. And you know what the funny thing is? It's like, when's the best time to negotiate? When the other side is like really, really weak and their vulnerabilities are there. And that's the coronavirus, because we see this socialism, capitalism dichotomy just failing and just falling flat on its face, and the virus has exposed us. So here we come with like a better idea, and we're not like ideologically insane, and we're very practical, and we have the most power. Pretty interesting.
If we can be the most stable and adult voice in the room when everybody else is panicking, we will absolutely win every argument we enter.
And again, even better, if you run into someone as stable and reasonable as you who says, thank you, I've been waiting to meet you for so long, that is even better. That's also a possibility we have to be open to.
I've been waiting for this like my whole life, man. Just like having a team of like awesome freaking people and like getting shit done, saving the day. Sounds really good.
Who's willing to actually go to a local Republican event and report back on it next week? Anybody?
Me.
Anyone? Will you, Ariel? Thank you, man. You are such
I don't
a
know
soldier,
if I'll be able
dude.
to do it that quickly.
You're such a
but
fighter. I love
planning
you,
to.
man. All right, Elizabeth, I love you too. You guys are both like soldiers for the cause. You're so tough. I really respect both of you pounding the pavement.
Oh yeah,
Love you guys. Great. I'm excited.
But it's probably going to be online.
Yeah. Anybody else? I mean, the two is enough, but
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I've kind of been
wonderful. I'm so glad to hear
wanting to
that.
do it anyway. I gotta look and see what's
Hell
going
yeah.
on, but yeah.
Hell yeah,
I'm
my
interested.
man. All
I
right.
have no connections. I'm a hermit. So, like,
I'm
if
not
you
gonna
asked
do
me
it.
to go, if you asked me to go
I'm
talk to
not gonna do it.
Democrats, I couldn't. I don't know anybody.
No, me too. I don't go to my local Democratic events. I don't go to my local Republican events.
Yeah,
I got a lot of
I'm
frankly social
looking this
anxiety.
up
I'm
on the
not going to do
county
it.
page.
I am not going to do it. Maybe
I'm
I will
looking this up on
someday.
the county page,
I
and
think
I
if I
will
had
just
a
note
regular income, I would not have so much anxiety, and I would do it. But I don't have enough income to like conquer my fears. So maybe someday, if I get a basic income, I'll start going to the meetings.
that would be cool. It'd be good to see you getting a regular income anyway.
Here,
Yeah, that'd be
here.
nice.
Mia, I will say I don't have any connections either. I'm just looking these up by their county page, and it was kind of interesting seeing both the county page, the Republicans and the Democrats, because of the priorities that are shown and how they built their page. It was just there's interesting differences. Like I know for my county, the top thing of their how to contribute to the party for the Democrats, it was volunteer for us, and for the Republicans, it was we'll pay you to work at a poll.
So here's some ideas. We can brainstorm. Like when talking to the Republicans, bring up like libertarians, really Milton Friedman, but then bring up like Thomas Paine and Richard Nixon and his idea, and just say like how much this bureaucracy is such a mess. And I'm sure that like they won't be that opposed to it.
Well, my hermitage is part not having transportation. Personally, like I can't afford a car, and if I could afford a car, I couldn't afford the insurance on a monthly basis. And the other part is, having to be available for my special needs son at any given time, which is why I missed last week, and I'm sorry about that still, guys. So unfortunately, when it comes to interacting with other people, online is where I live.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of like online Republican stuff. So I mean, like the best is if you feel a little uncomfortable, you can just like leave meeting. Bye.
Like jump into a Republican Facebook group and just like give them a good talking to.
No,
I recommend doing
that
this in
sounds like a
person.
really bad
I
idea.
mean, it's
honestly.
so much easier to dehumanize a person online, the
No,
people who are engaged in those groups are probably just looking for some fodder. I would really recommend going in person.
And you don't
Yeah, that was
need to
why I
feel,
was,
and you don't need to
half
feel any
joking.
pressure. It's outside of what makes you comfortable and works for you logistically. You shouldn't feel any pressure to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's why I don't. Now, if I had more money, maybe I would go give it a try, Uber around. But I don't have transportation either, and
right.
I like I said, it would be very very draining for me to do, like emotionally. And maybe someday, not today.
I didn't mean like go in there and just like jump in with talking point. I meant like try to reason with them, and then if they go bonkers and you're online, you can just leave meeting. That's what I meant.
I just know where I would be like weak to losing my composure, or like just like not in a way I would like fly off the handle, but I would just be like intimidated and kind of shrink, and I wouldn't be effective at like convincing anyone. If they got hung up on like what do you do for a living, you know, they could just kind of trigger me, and I could just end up like that's what I'm afraid of. I think that's what that's what keeps me from going to those meetings. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I will lose my composure in that situation because I know my vulnerabilities.
Sense. But here it is. Like also at the Long Beach event, there was this Hispanic guy with like this really American kind of like, I don't know, kind of like redneckish guy, and they were like talking about Trump and how, you know, liberals just want to like the deep state against Trump, blah blah blah. And the only people talking back at them and trying to really understand them and thing were us. We're like the Yang Gang. We're talking, and we could really have a good conversation. And they said like, yeah, we don't hate Yang. We actually think he's pretty interesting. Like what is this about? And then we could agree that there were a lot of things on the Democratic side that were like really, really like on the fringes as well. So, but then you know what I told them? I kind of threw them for the loop. I said, then why did Trump have that picture with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton? They were all kind of like, well, you know, you got to play the game. Like, well, okay.
See, for me, it's about I'm a baby. I would definitely get my feelings hurt very quickly, and I'm too soft. I'm fragile, like a gentle little flower. And if somebody called me one name, I would be probably crying for like an hour.
Hey guys, I apologize, but I actually have to get going a little bit early today. But I will see you all
Zach.
next
Thanks
week.
for coming in, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Take
Good
care.
luck with the Republicans.
Bye, Zach.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll let you know how it goes. I got to look into it first, but definitely something.
Take care, man.
And I want to do. So, all right. I'll catch you all next week. Bye.
No, I think it's very doable. I mean, shouldn't even be that complicated.
Yeah, I think one benefit of me living where I do, being surrounded by overwhelming majority of Republicans. I definitely know how they operate and how they think and their talking points. And so that's things that are very familiar to me.
Yeah, there's no reason you can't go to both. You can go to your local Republican and Democratic meetings. You know,
right?
In fact, that might give you a real leg up in both.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and I'd agree, Jeremy. That is extremely beneficial. It has worked to my favor talking to other people that my family has so many people so much farther to the right than
and in fact,
most
if people
reasonable Republicans are.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, but I was going to say, if people ask, you can just identify as a populist. You don't have to say you're a Democrat or a Republican.
I like that. Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth, I cut you off for you. Did you have more to say?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. Sorry about that.
And then just like you said, we're inviting them on this show, and I think this is a real blind spot for like kind of like the ultra left, because it's like, let's be honest, it's usually like the more leftist kind of things that like create these purity tests. And these like, oh, if you agree with like one little thing on the other side, then like you're this pariah and we're going to cancel you and stuff like that. And we're coming at it from the complete opposite side of it.
Yeah, so totally.
That's why I don't identify with most leftist movements, is because I'm mostly to the left, but you may have noticed I have some pretty hardline right opinions, and as soon as I say any of those, it's just the most emotionally fraught of kicks from whatever group I was saying that in.
Purity testing is the term we're talking about as it's more commonly known.
Well, for example, I don't agree with Elon Musk that we should open back up the economy, but I still want a Neuralink.
Right? Same.
Wait,
Like,
did you say
he
you want
has
a what?
incorrect political opinions, I feel, but he's still doing more than me to save humanity by many orders of magnitude.
Well,
Exactly.
he still agreed with UBI. So,
Yeah.
That too. So, like, you can have a bad opinion without being a bad person, or you probably think it's a good opinion, so I shouldn't call it a bad opinion, but you know what I mean.
And you can have a good opinion and at the same time be a bad person. Do you
I mean,
understand?
Very much so.
Look,
Right?
I don't think we should open up the economy, but imagine how much safer we would be if we did have to open the economy, or if people insisted on opening the economy. If everyone just happened to have an extra $2,000 a month,
Right.
you know, to make sure they had the masks, the working masks that are clean and intact, and the gloves and
just
whatever they need, whatever PPE.
Actually, the freedom to stay home.
Yeah, if they want to, right?
Yeah.
To not have to participate, to make the economy truly voluntary.
And
they would still support it with that money.
You guys.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Shael. Go ahead.
Oh, but it works. If people had $2,000 more a month and they knew with security, and they would have it during this pandemic, the people who feel it is responsible to stay home and not participate in the economy can have a completely symbiotic relationship with the people who open the economy. People can stay home. They can order food in with their basic income. They can order whatever they need in, and they can, they can go out and participate in the economy in whatever limited capacity they feel comfortable. And the brave and the stalwart, or whatever, if you want to imagine them in a less flattering way, whatever, they can go out there. They can take the risks that they know they're taking, and they can work the economy in the way that makes sense to them, and there doesn't have to be protests. There doesn't have to be a debate
my
about
fiance and I
it.
were talking about that today. If we were getting a UBI, we would be spending money
but
hand
you know
over
what?
fist.
It's the same old divide and conquer. It's the same old legacy media creating the narrative in the framework of a football game rather than a logic puzzle, which it is.
Right,
it's a logic
right.
puzzle. It's not a football game.
Yeah.
So, but if we're playing the football game, we'll never solve the logic puzzle. And unfortunately, that just keeps the tiny cohort of people who just don't want the social order to change in any way happy. And that's just kind of what we're at.
So let me ask a quick question here. Maybe so we can do some comparison. What would you consider to be an actually bipartisan issue, established issue that nobody argues about in Congress, and how can we frame UBI in such a way as to go along with that kind of you can't even argue with it?
I mean, the best one is UBI because it's 70% of Americans on both sides.
I mean, in Congress specifically, something that the Republicans and the Democrats already in there do not argue about.
I got it.
Stripping protections from Americans.
Job creation. Even Democrats want jobs, but both Democrats and Republicans talk about how good it is to jobs in the work. Yeah, UBI creates jobs. UBI makes sure there's more economic activity so more people can be employed. And Joe Biden talked about the dignity of the paycheck, and Trump's always talking about bringing back jobs. So even though we're opposed to say everybody has human value, and your worth should not be attached to a job, but at the same time, if you want a job and you want to be that productive member of society, you can work right there.
Ariel, you gave me an idea. If you can get a T-shirt made, or a T-shirt made when you go in with a T-shirt with a slogan that reads UBI for jobs, and make that your case to the Republicans. Say, look, we need UBIs so we can support people's businesses. We need to support people's jobs because half the country's just not going to be able to work during this pandemic. UBI for jobs. We need UBI so we can open the economy. That's the case. You take all their wants, and you tell them how UBI gives it to them.
Right.
And you put an emphasis on individuals as entrepreneurs, not like a corporate business.
Yeah. And also speaking of people with good opinions but bad people, You guys should all hear this podcast between Anand Girdhadas and Michael Moore, where it's called "Let Me Rob You, I'm Woke." So all of these like socially progressive millionaires and billionaires who talk about like gun control and a woman's right to choose and all this like culturally left stuff, but they're the ones who like plundered and destroyed our economy. so that's a
Do
trap.
you think we could have them on our show?
I don't know.
We could ask
can
them.
try. Yeah, you can try getting. It'll be a good idea, Jeremy. If you could, I don't know if you reach out to Anand Girdhadas, that Indian guy, because he's always talking about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's the strategy. So in addition, we can kind of like have a report on like what actions we took to do these things and like what results came of it. And then when we do that, when we boil this down to like a real science, then it's like we're really getting somewhere. So we know how to change our strategy. Like like Jeremy, when you reach out to people and who are the ones who have answered you and who are the ones who have like not, and then you kind of like see like, what did I do? How was my approach? And that's just how like progress is made.
Hey, just in case this guy does get back with me, what are the topics and things we're wanting to talk about with him?
Well, he's always railing on and on how like millionaires and billionaires have destroyed like the social safety net in the name of philanthropy. So then we can talk about like how UBI fits into the framework. I don't know, Shael, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say in different words what you were saying. How the social justice left often uses social justice projects in lieu of economic projects, or as an excuse to ignore economic inequalities or oppress the poor. How they think class is like a thing that shouldn't be considered in reality. How they think the poor are not worthy of. I don't know. You know what? I'm really trailing off here. I don't want to say nasty things about people and caricature people, but there is this messaging that is meant to be divisive that I think that podcast will address.
Like some of the social
Ariel
justice left are they're like your typical limousine liberals who are just like terrible. Like that and that's a word all right likes to use, limousine liberals. And Jeremy, it goes back to Nancy Pelosi with her buckets of ice cream and tons of chocolate, all happy, talking about how she has such a sweet tooth while people are literally starving in the country. So that is like what we can agree with Anand. That is just plain wrong.
I would say that the Democrats definitely have kind of a Marie Antoinette let them eat cake attitude going on.
That's exactly what it sounds like that podcast will address, the Nancy Pelosi ice cream freezer issue, where the left doesn't have to actually be progressive economically at all, as long as they are addressing other issues where they're opposed to the Republicans. And that's kind of the charade we need to call out and end for all time.
Hear, hear.
I wish this is why there should be more than two parties too, because it's not like those issues should be like swept aside or anything either. They just shouldn't be the only thing that we're deciding our parties based on. Like you should have more variance in opinion between Republicans and Democrats, so that there's like different ground you could cover without it being, I don't know, it just splits us so evenly,
And these are the things we have to bring in our peace offering to the Republicans when we go to meet them in good faith this week.
It's like the Indians and the Pilgrims. Kind of evokes that image.
You don't choose the absolute best touchstones, I would say. But yeah, I get your intention.
The Native Americans?
Yeah.
Regardless of the verbiage, there's a genocide that happens, and so I wouldn't go with that one.
Oh, okay. No, just a joke. No, I just thought like peace offerings.
Yeah, that went really, really not well for the people that were offering peace offerings.
It was just a joke. Okay, an olive branch. But mind you, I came from that side, so I mean, like we, that side, I mean, is not as sensitive, like, okay, I don't know, it's like, you can kind of like joke with them and laugh, and I think that that's something that some of the ultra sensitive left can take away from that side. Like, not everything should be as serious, and not everything like determines like outrage and all that stuff. I mean, like, it's fun to just like crack a joke once in a while every now and
That's it, Ariel. You're kicked off the podcast. I never want to see your face again.
then. How dare you?
Yeah, I think that we can also kind of draw that back into the recent Joe Biden controversy. With him telling people they aren't black if they don't vote for him. I think.
Oh God, he gets better and better at losing the election.
I know.
The man can't win. It's just
Right.
if you want to see an example of defeat from the jaws of victory, Joe fucking Biden.
But on one hand, I think it's I mean, is what he said like irrehensible, and was a bad thing to say? Of course it was, but to take it in the context is, he was, if you listen to the whole thing, he was trying to make a joke. He obviously was not serious. Joe Biden doesn't think you're less black if you don't vote for him, right? And so I think it's disingenuous to.
That's fair.
He's making a joke about some real
right.
nasty in-group racism, though, that does happen in a serious context and is awful.
I wish our leaders were more aware, and that would have been something that I don't think Yang would have stumbled on that particular block at all. And there are different ways in which I think Bernie probably could have stumbled, just due to not being in with the times and not understanding what is and is not okay to say. And I really wish that we were moving forward with a new generation of ideas as well, instead of relying on like ideas that were great at a different time.
Yeah, like I don't think Biden's overtly racist, but I think there is racism built into his mindset that shows in his policies, and it shows when he makes like not just gaffes like that, but the time he was talking about children and how there were poor kids and there were white kids, and then caught himself at the end of that, like. But
Are you talking about the leg hair
comes
thing?
Out of his mouth, because that's really how he equates it.
It's like he's just in the boxing ring, like punching himself.
He really is. It
like
really feels like he's
Club.
lost this election before he's even actually been nominated.
So I've seen in Fight Club where Ed Norton beats himself up. Like,
right.
I mean, we say this. I do want to say we do say this, but at the same time, like, everybody who's saying these sorts of things about him, as obvious as they are, as true as they may be, as much as they come from, he still somehow managed to take the primary. So there's like a significant possibility that no matter how terrible he is, just like with Trump's actions from a certain perspective, no matter how bad he is, these people will still just show up as if it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what we're up against.
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
So we have to go to.
But that
we can't
kind of
just. We have to go
Jeremy
everywhere.
Was saying
we have to be
the left is a lot
evangelical.
less forgiving. The right looks at Trump saying that, and they care less about it because it's not the substance of him. It's just stuff coming out of his mouth. The left doesn't do that. More of the left will drop someone for something like that, and I don't know that I disagree with him. Like right now, it's just they're both shit options.
It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. You know those brand names, right? But then there's like some organic fruit juice, the name recognition of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. So people just go with these brands because they've seen it so many times, and that's a problem. It's just people recognizing, or in this case, not recognizing that other options do exist. But they're like, I'm going with my brand name that, I remember when I was 5 years old and my mom got me first Coke.
Kind of, but it's almost more like people saying if you go with that like niche juice, you're taking a Coke and drowning someone in it. Like, it's not even that we don't know it's an option, it's that it's an option that is actively shamed and discouraged.
I think there's like a concern that if we were to take a third option, then one of the options would be fundamentally destroyed or undermined, you know? And like you wouldn't be able to so say like you introduce this third option, you might devalue the first two options somehow, in the same sense as we've got the same problem with the way we view poverty and the haves and the have-nots in this country, whereas the people who are at the top think that they can get something, or that if they want to keep what they have to stop other people from getting, which is just not how it works.
Right. So it's kind of like that you know, like that person at Trader Joe's who like offers you a sample. I guess we just have to like offer people the sample instead of them just looking at the other brand on the shelf, you know, and you know that's what we're here for, you know, because sometimes, you know, with the legacy media, you see it on the shelf, but you're not offered a sample. But when we get deeper into content, it's like you're just offered a sample instead of just seeing it on the shelf.
So like the stimulus check could be like the sample in this scenario, and then like what Humanity Forward does is further samples, and we just need to keep on pointing those out to people and demonstrating a better way. Like,
oh, this is tasty. Like, what is this? Oh, it's this. It's like, oh, like just get into people's psyche, because I think even one time, even the big brand names started off as those samples that people were like, oh, what's this? You know, and then just built their momentum from there. So now we got to do the same thing, you know. Yeah. And Trump was already, you know, a brand name before he got into the ring. You know, and that's what Yang didn't have. He didn't have that. But now he's building, where we are building that. Because some people, it's like, you know, like basketball. Some people have the home court advantage. Like we're building that home court advantage right now.
Don't everyone talk all at once.
So. Wow. How did that, you know, how long did we? It's like a bunch of strangers all trying to pass each other in the same direction at the same time.
Yeah, no, like that's good, because it's like we're taking time to digest the words that were said before we talk.
And we all apparently have the same tolerance for silence.
We're very in sync.
Yeah, I think it was more that one.
Okay, this cannot keep going any further, or I'm going to like start sweating.
Should we end the podcast a little early? Are we all done?
I'm all tuckered out.
All right, that sounds good. It's almost it's already past 5:30, so yeah, good. We had a big weekend. I'm tired as well, and I'm very behind in my editing. So, thank you for tuning in. Why don't we say goodbye, starting with you, Ariel?
Goodbye, everyone. My name is Ariel, and you can find me on Twitter at Ariel's _our motto, so that's ARIELS _ARMADA, and I'm on YouTube as Revolutionary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Elizabeth.
The Wandering Unicorn on Twitter at unicorn36902, and The Wandering Unicorn on YouTube if you want to hear my voice read you books.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I should check that out. I like books, especially when they're read to me. Saves energy. All right, Jeremy.
This is Jeremy. You can follow me on Twitter at JeremySammons1, and that is JeremySammons and the number 1.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Mia.
Mia Songbird at Mia Songbird on Twitter. MEASONGBIRD.
That's BIRD. You cut out at the very end. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for fixing that for me.
Yeah, and I am SHAELRILEY on Twitter, at SHAELRILEY on Twitter. I'm clearly very tired. All right, well, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with more basic income advocacy next weekend. Stay safe. We love you guys. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.